Hello again. It is often said that the traditional British high street is on its last legs, with most people preferring to shop online these days. Combined with the closure of so many banks and smaller shops, the look of the average parade of shops has changed out of all recognition lately. Some businesses, though, are apparently flourishing in the high street. I'm thinking of things such as Turkish barbers and nail bars staffed by Vietnamese girls. These seem to have sprung up all over the place, and it looks as though there is enough custom for all of them, even when you've got two or three barbers competing for custom in one section of a high street, which is surprising. They are, needless to say, all run by foreigners. How on earth can it be that they are all able to turn a profit when sometimes such establishments are only a few doors from each other? The same, of course, goes for nail bars, which appear to have taken over all the empty shops now, which are not being used by Turkish barbers. Another change is, of course, the number of people, usually foreign women, who are selling the big issue. Together with foreign beggars, these people are now seen in the most unlikely little villages and towns, and some people wonder where they have appeared from. Let me explain. Barbershops and nail bars are very handy places to launder money. If you are involved in criminal activity, such as large-scale drug dealing or the importation of tobacco and alcohol without paying duty, or various other things, your transactions will all be done on a cash basis. These days, banks are very cagey about money laundering, and if some individual starts paying £5,000 in £20 notes into his account each week, then alarm bells soon start ringing, and you're likely to be called upon to explain what is going on. If you run a business like a barber, though, the problem is solved as if by magic. On the one hand, your business might just about break even, especially if it is in competition with other nearby places, but this doesn't really matter. Suppose that you have 100 customers a week, which just about pays to keep the place ticking over. All you need to do is keep a set of false books which show that you had 500 customers a week. This explains where all those large sums of cash that you're paying into your account come from. That way you just feed your drug money or arms dealing proceeds or whatever else you're mixed up in through the account of the barber shop, and the cash is instantly washed and you can transfer it anywhere in the world. The same racket is worked in nail bars, many of which, just like the Turkish barbers, barely break even. Not that it matters, for those with Vietnamese staff are often hotbeds of modern slavery anyway. In both the Welsh town of Brecon and the Essex town of Loughton, foreign women sell the big issue, and they're now a feature of the landscape in those towns. They're not homeless or living on the streets or anything of that kind. This was, of course, why the big issue was originally started, to give a legitimate source of income to rough sleepers and so on, but those days are long past. These days it's a racket in the hands largely of Romanians. Many viewers will surely have noticed that foreigners outnumber British sellers today, and also that they are driven to their pitches in vans, which collect them at the end of the day. This is common knowledge in both Brecon and Loughton, as is the foreign beggar racket. In both towns one sees foreign beggars. They too are assigned pitches in the same way that big issue sellers are. I've given Brecon and Loughton the instances because they're both towns that I spent a lot of time in, but I dare say that viewers will be able to name other towns, for example, places where they live themselves, where they see exactly the same thing going on. I'm bound to say that high streets have changed dramatically in the last 10 years, and that the COVID business accelerated these changes. The last couple of years have seen many shopping centres change with dizzying rapidity. Of course, we can hardly expect time to stand still, and it would be odd if our shops were the same now as they were in Victorian times. Times do change, but it's the pace of the change which is slightly disconcerting in recent years. I have an idea that the shopping street with which we are familiar will not last much longer, and it'll be interesting to see what will actually replace it in the long term.